Hey guys, Ted here from MangoDogs. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Today we will be doing a video on muzzle conditioning. So, muzzles obviously are a really good tool to have in the toolbox if your dog has aggression issues towards other dogs, or people, maybe he's not so good around dogs anymore and you want to prevent something from happening, or he's going to the vet and there's some issues there. Why not get your dog prepped up so that you don't have to worry about an emergency? So we'll go pretty in depth into some of the different muzzles and also how to condition your dog or to be accepting of the muzzle. And we definitely use muzzles in our rehabilitation programs because, you know, timing is everything when you're doing rehabilitation and thresholds and so on. So, you know, if somebody makes a bad judgment call and allows the dog a little bit too much freedom, there's not a whole lot that can go wrong. So don't ever be afraid to use a muzzle. Some people say, you know, I don't want to use one because my dog looks aggressive. You know, it really is a really great tool to have in the toolbox. And when used as a rehabilitation tool, it can really help you get to the next level. So I don't think it should be used for something necessarily long-term as a long-term solution, but something to keep everybody safe around us in the meantime. So we're going to get started by just checking out a couple different muzzles here. All right, stay tuned. Okay, so this would be your standard nylon vet muzzle. Pretty basic here. Got one strap on the side. This obviously fits over your dog's muzzle. And there's not a whole lot to it. The only thing I'll really use these for is going to be an emergency. A lot of veterinarians use them because they're quite easy to get on. They're very difficult for the dogs actually to get off. And they can be really good for dogs with very long, skinny muzzles. For example, German Shepherd or something like that can be really good there. Of course, they've got some downsides to them. Dogs can't open their mouth a whole lot. They can't really drink or eat through them. You don't want to be using them in hot weather. So this is usually a very temporary solution and something that's only really used in an emergency. Okay, this is a Baskerville muzzle. So there's a little bit more to this muzzle, obviously. There's some really good stuff with the Baskerville that I really like. They come in quite a few different sizes, I believe about 6 different sizes. And they are pretty well fitting for most dogs, depending on that 0 to 6 range that you can get into. So this would be a number 6. So this is, I believe, the largest one that they have in their range. And I like it for dog-to-dog aggression. I really like it because there's a lot of access to air, which is nice too. I've seen a lot of dogs be able to drink through this. Some of them can even eat through it, which is also really nice too. It has a strap on the bottom where you can actually clip through the dog's collar, which gives it just that much more, it makes it that much more secure. It's got a top strap here, which is really handy to keep it a little bit cinched in, especially for the dogs with a little bit shorter noses or muzzles. And just a really good all-around muzzle. It's actually pretty lightweight as well too, which is nice. It's pretty soft plastic, which is also really cool. And the problem with these ones is if you're using this for dogs with human aggression, you can get fingers and thumbs and so on through there. So be very cautious. I do not suggest these for clients with dogs who have human aggression issues. Okay, so this is JFCO. JFCO is a company from the United States that does not have a lot of distribution. So they are a little bit more difficult to get a hold of, unfortunately, but you can buy them in many different retailers online, and I believe some stores as well too. We get them direct from the company, but you're probably not going to be able to get one of these at one of your pet stores, so look for them online. There's plenty of different retailers. Now, JFCO has a pretty wide range as far as their sizes and their options. So there is a clear black plastic, a black plastic, a white plastic as far as the different plastics that they come with. The white and the black are a very hard plastic, and I do not suggest them because I've been hit with those over the years, and they will definitely leave a bruise. If a dog was to hit another dog with it, it could potentially cause some bruising or discomfort or something like that. Whereas the clear plastic ones are very nice and pliable like this, as you can see. So really, really nice as far as a dog or a person getting hit with this, but also it's going to make it more comfortable for the dog and their nose inside as well too. So the thing about this is you want to order the clear plastic ones, and also make sure that you order a top strap as well too. They do not come standard with that top strap, but I definitely suggest investing in that top strap because it's just something that's really good for making it that much more secure. If you only get the strap in the back, it's not as secure, especially with the dogs with shorter muzzles. So I definitely suggest that. It's about an extra $5 and you can't go wrong with that. This is a really great muzzle. We've been using these for many years and the quality is definitely second to none. The clear plastic is really cool too because it's not as offensive looking, obviously because it's clear plastic. I definitely suggest these for a lot of my clients' dogs, and of course this is something that I would be using with my clients with human aggressive dogs. So you can't get any fingers through there as you can with the Baskerville muzzle. So definitely a really, really good muzzle to have, and something I would be using on a lot of my clients' dogs with human aggression issues. Okay, so let's talk now about conditioning or getting your dog to accept the muzzle. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. There's three main ways that you can do it. One is very, very simple. It requires no training. One requires a bit of training, and one requires a lot of training. Specific to which one you're going to choose here just comes down to if you need something as an emergency or if you've got a little bit more time and you want to do things properly. So I'm going to call these bronze, silver, and gold. I suggest gold if you have the time. Obviously silver is going to be a little bit better. Bronze I do not typically suggest, but it's what most people do. So bronze is basically the emergency thing, right? So I have to go to the vet. I'm just going to put this muzzle on, or the veterinarian or the vet tech is going to do that for me. And obviously that's going to be very stressful on your dog. It's not going to make them like it because they're not realistically going to get anything out of it, and they're going to probably shut down quite extensively as well too. So definitely not something that I suggest, but if you're only going to need it once a year, something like that, you know, it is what it is as far as being able to put the extra time in. So let's talk about the silver. This is the one that a lot of people can easily do. It doesn't take a ton of time, but it just takes a little bit more time. And so basically this is what I'm going to call silver or shaping. And basically the shaping is pretty simple as far as actually just getting your dog to start eating out of the muzzle. So I'm going to use a JFCO here. And basically what you want to do is you literally just open this up like so, and your dog can actually eat out of there, which is really nice, okay? So you literally can just feed your dog out of the muzzle. Make them eat out of it for the first little while until they're naturally, as soon as you bust this out, they start putting their head in there. You can put a command on it after a day or two, muzzle, break it out, and your dog should automatically start putting its head in there. As far as you putting food in there, that's very, very simple. And then taking it to the next level, getting them to actually put it in there without any food in there, and so on and so forth. Not very difficult stuff. I'm not going to go too extensively into that, but I don't see any reason why your dog should not at least want to put its head in here, especially in order to get food so that you can put the strap on. That's very, very simple, does not require a lot of time, and obviously is going to be something where you don't want to be rolling around with your dog on the ground just to be able to get a muzzle on it. Now the difficult part is if you're going to transition to the gold, which is basically shaping and generalizing, that's the difficult part because that's where the dog is actually going to be wearing the muzzle as opposed to just putting the muzzle on. So what I'm going to suggest if you're going to make that next transition into the gold is I'm going to have you buy two muzzles. And here's the reason why. I like to have one muzzle to start the feeding out of, and then I like to have another muzzle that you cut the hole through the front of it. So I literally have cut this out. It makes it so the dog can drink with it on, can eat with it. There's nothing in there. There's lots of airflow, obviously. And it's just something really good where you can train the dog to put their head in the one that's still intact, and then you can do the same thing here, and you can start feeding, you can start putting your straps on, and so on and so forth. So that's basically our next step there. Depending on how your dog is coming along, then you can start progressively asking for more time and duration. Why not start feeding your dog by putting its head into it, putting the straps on, taking things to the next level, walking around with them, doing different things, okay? In any of these steps, when you actually start to put the strap on, try not to go too quickly with that process. You know, this is a very invasive tool for your dog to be wearing something like this on their face, and so just keep that in mind. It would not be comfortable for you or I, nor is it going to be comfortable for a dog, so give them time. And when you have given them lots of time and you've made it really positive and you've made it really fun, then also keep in mind that at some point your dog is probably gonna try to get it off, and at that stage you got to make sure it's on nice and tight so that they can't get it off. If they can get it off, they're going to realize they can get it off, and naturally they're going to start to try to get it off that much more and that much more and that much more. Almost like a dog who's broken out of a crate, they're going to be more excited about, or they're going to be trying to break out of a crate more often. And so that's just something to keep in mind with the muzzle training. The other thing too is once you start using them around other dogs or something like that, or let's say you take your dog into the vet, you don't want to just put it on and then go right into socialization or go right into the vet giving your dog a needle. And the reason why is because you want to see if the dog is A, going to try to get it off, or B, is actually going to be able to get it off. I would much rather know if a dog is actually going to be able to get a muzzle off than not know, hoping, because then potentially they could take it off and then potentially bite a person or a dog or whatever. So don't be afraid to actually let the dog go through the motions. If they go through it and they can't get it off, a lot of times they just stop trying, and then you can go right back to feeding. So in the third stage, you start with this one, feeding through here, and then putting it on, feeding through the front, putting the straps on, and then start walking them around. They can be walking around in your living room or whatever, and you can just be feeding. You can actually have them wear this, and they can eat out of a bowl with it. There's lots of different transitions, and then you can start going to this. If you want your last transition, you can also cut some holes through here so that you can continue doing some feeding through here. Just don't cut it too big because obviously we don't want any fingers getting caught in there as well too. So that's basically the process of either doing bronze, silver, or gold. If you want to do it upright, if you don't have money to pay into a rehabilitation program or something like that, or let's say you don't have any qualified trainers in your area, then you might want to put in that time, buy 2 muzzles, do things properly, because it might be a kind of a long-term solution for your dog. So definitely don't skimp if you're going to be doing muzzle training for a long-term process for your dog. Definitely don't skimp on time. Do it properly. Okay, so this is one of my dogs, Nika, and she has never been formally muzzle conditioned. So having said that, this will be a bit of a science experiment as far as how this is going to go along. It could go not so good, it could go really, really well, but the more time you take with it, the better you're going to do with it. So do not feel like you should be rushing. If she comes along very quickly with this, that doesn't mean that your dog will. This is a very highly food motivated dog. She has a lot of trust in me, and so it's gonna probably be a little bit quicker for me than it potentially will be for you. If your dog doesn't have much of an appetite, only feed them out of the muzzle, and they're naturally going to start being a lot more excited about getting into the muzzle. So if they won't eat out of the muzzle, just put the food away. Try again in another 8 hours or whatever your scheduled feeding time is. Only feed them out of it, and you're going to get a lot more motivation out of your dog to be able to do this. And don't hesitate to take your time. This a week to 2 weeks minimum should be your goal to properly condition your dog to the muzzle. Just gonna hold the bottom so the food can't come out, put food in, I'm not going to use any commands at this point. Good girl. She doesn't understand what we're doing now. She just understands, okay, so maybe getting some food in here. This is kind of cool. Girl. Probably do that for about 2 to 3 days, and then your next step will be putting a command on it. So you want to say your muzzle command, offer the muzzle. At that point, the dog should understand to put their nose in it, get the food. Okay, after a few days, if your dog is coming along and training quite rapidly, then you might want to make the next transition. So I'm going to make it, for the point of this video, I'll do it very quickly. This dog will not need to have a muzzle on. She knows that she's getting food out of it. She's been doing this for about 5 minutes, so let's see how she does. I'm just start putting a command on it and offering her at the same time. Muzzle. Good girl. That's a good girl. Muzzle. At this point, muzzle. Keep putting food in there. Muzzle. Pretty intelligent dog. She's only been doing this for a few minutes. She's got a very high food drive, so it's coming along very quickly. Okay, our next transition, we'll be using the muzzle with the hole cut in the front of it, and we'll just be adding our food from the bottom. Let's see how she does with this. Nika, muzzle. Good girl. Muzzle. Good girl. Muzzle. Girl. Okay, so next up, what we'll be doing is we'll actually be getting her to sit so that we can cinch this down on her head so that we can have her actually start walking around with it a little bit, and we can start feeding through the front of it. Sit. Muzzle. Girl. She's pretty unfazed by this. She likes the fact that she's getting food here. Girl. Good girl. As you can see, she's getting a little bit annoyed with it. That's okay. Good. Sit. Good. Come on. Sit. Good. At this stage, you can definitely allow your dog to eat out of a dish because it just gets them to associate being able to get food by putting on the muzzle at the same time. Sit. Okay, so this is our last step. What I've done is I've taken our regular muzzle here and I've cut a hole through the front of it So that hole is going to allow us to be able to put some treats through the front of it. When I'm doing duration work, I like to transition to just a piece of liver, like so, just a dehydrated liver treat. And that's just going to be a little bit more motivating to our dogs than even just our regular kibble. And so what I'll start doing is I'll just put the treat in, they get the muzzle on, at which point I start reinforcing through the front with the treat. So let's see how this goes. Muzzle, good girl. I like to have the dog sitting at this point, if at all possible. Now, as you can see, her nose is up against here quite a bit. So I might have to adjust this a little bit. Girl. Not a girl. Okay, let's see how many seconds we can get here before she fights me on this one. Good. I like to grab the front of the muzzle when I'm giving those treats. Good. Start walking her around a little bit. Make things fun for her. Good girl. She's doing very well. Always make it fun when you take it off and when you put it on. Atta girl. That was about 15 minutes of muzzle conditioning. Obviously take your time with your dog. I just was doing that for show purposes right now for the video. If I was truly conditioning a dog, I would be taking probably 1 to 2 weeks to do this properly. And she's a naturally very food motivated dog, very trusting as well too. So I hope you found this video to be something that can help you through some maybe difficult times with your dog. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email. My personal email is ted@mangodogs.com. Our website is mangodogs.com. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, all of those different avenues, the social media stuff. So look us up and definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you again for watching, and make it fun for your dog. You like that.